Admiral Kyung-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars through the massive viewing window. His silver uniform bore the marks of 30 years serving the Galactic Federation. Today would mark another routine first contact with a new species. His fleet of 12 warships waited in perfect formation at the edge of what the locals called the Sol system. "Sir, we have a ship approaching," reported his communications officer. "It's small." Kyung-ho turned to look at the main screen. The human vessel appeared tiny compared to his fleet. Its hull looked rough and simple. The design reminded him of ships from centuries past, when civilizations first learned to travel between stars. This would be easier than he thought. "Open communications," he ordered. The screen flickered and showed a human woman with black hair tied back neatly. She wore a blue uniform with simple markings. Behind her, Kyung-ho could see a basic bridge with old-looking equipment. "Greetings," the woman said with a smile. "I am Ambassador Jin-ae of Earth. We welcome you to our system." Kyung-ho nodded politely. "I am Admiral Kyung-ho of the Galactic Federation. We come in peace to establish contact with your people." "We are honored by your visit," Jin-ae replied. "May I present Captain Dongwook, commander of this vessel?" A man in his 40s stepped into view. His uniform looked practical rather than fancy. He gave a respectful bow. "Welcome to human space, Admiral. The ship Sol's Pride is at your service." Behind Kyung-ho, Fleet Commander Tae-min whispered, "Look at their technology. Basic fusion drives, simple hull plating. These humans are barely past their first space age." Kyung-ho had seen this pattern many times. New species always started with crude ships and simple weapons. The Federation would offer them junior membership, trade agreements, and protection. In return, these young civilizations would provide resources and respect the established order. "Your ship is impressive," Kyung-ho lied smoothly. "How large is your fleet?" Captain Dongwook smiled. "We have enough ships to keep our home safe. Earth values peace, but we believe in being prepared." "Wise policy," Kyung-ho agreed. The human ship probably represented their best technology. Most new species had only a few dozen ships when first discovered. Ambassador Jin-ae leaned forward. "Admiral, we would like to invite your fleet to Earth for proper first contact ceremonies. Our people are excited to meet representatives of the galactic community." This surprised Kyung-ho. Usually, new species wanted to visit Federation worlds first, eager to see advanced technology in grand cities. "You wish us to visit your homeworld?" "Yes," Jin-ae said. "We have prepared facilities for your comfort. Our ceremonial fleet will provide escort through our territory to ensure your safety." Fleet Commander Tae-min made a soft sound of amusement. A ceremonial fleet from these primitives would likely be a few decorated cargo ships, but refusing would be rude, and Kyung-ho wanted to see their homeworld to properly assess their capabilities. "We accept your invitation," Kyung-ho said. "When shall we begin?" "Immediately, if you wish," Captain Dongwook replied. "We will guide you along safe routes through our space." The communication ended and Kyung-ho turned to his officers. His science officer, Woo Jin, was studying sensor readings with a puzzled expression. "Something wrong?" Kyung-ho asked. "Sir, I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures deeper in the system," Woo Jin reported. "The patterns don't match our technology databases. Probably their power generation," Tae-min suggested. "Primitive fusion plants often have irregular output." Engineer Hye-jin looked up from her station. "Admiral, their traffic control is more complex than I expected. I'm tracking hundreds of ships moving through their system. Trade vessels and civilian transports," Kyung-ho decided. "Even young civilizations need internal commerce." The Sol's Pride took position ahead of the Federation fleet. As they traveled deeper into the Sol system, Kyung-ho noticed that the human ship moved with precision. Their captain knew these space lanes well. "Sir," Woo Jin called out, "I'm reading massive structures in the asteroid belt. The power signatures are significant." "Mining operations," Tae-min said confidently. "These humans probably strip mine asteroids for resources," but Hye-jin frowned at her readings. "The scale seems large for simple mining. Some of these installations are bigger than our space stations." Kyung-ho studied the long-range sensors. the humans had built extensively throughout their system. That showed ambition and organizational skill. Still, large mining operations were common among species trying to build their first real fleets. Captain Dongwook seems competent, observed Communications Officer Sung Woo. His crew responds quickly to orders. Basic military training, Tae-min replied. Nothing impressive. Hours passed as they traveled toward the inner system. The Soul's Pride maintained steady communication, providing navigation updates and system information. Captain Dongwook was polite and professional. Admiral, Jin's voice came through the comm system. We're approaching our first checkpoint. Please maintain formation for safety. Safety from what? Tae-min muttered. Through the viewing window, Kyung-ho saw structures emerging from behind a large asteroid. They looked like defensive platforms, but the size seemed excessive. Each one was larger than a Federation destroyer. Those are substantial defensive installations, Woo Jin reported carefully. Every species protects their home system, Kyung-ho said, but privately he wondered why humans needed such large platforms. What were they defending against? Captain Dongwook's voice came through the speakers. We're passing through our outer security perimeter. Standard procedure for all visitors.
Standard procedure? Kyung-ho had visited dozens of homeworlds during first contact missions. Most species had a few orbital platforms and maybe some patrol ships. The humans seemed to have built a fortress. Sir, Hyojin whispered, the power readings from those platforms.
They're enormous. Each one could power a major city. Inefficient engineering, Tae-min said, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. As they continued inward, more structures became visible. Supply depots, communication arrays, and what looked like ship construction facilities. The humans had been busy in their home system. How long have your people been spacefaring? Kyung-ho asked during their next communication. Long enough to feel comfortable among the stars. Captain Dongwook replied with a slight smile. That was not really an answer, but Kyung-ho did not want to seem rude by pressing for details. The Federation prized diplomatic courtesy, especially during first contact. We look forward to seeing Earth, Kyung-ho said. And we look forward to showing you our world, Jin-ae replied. I think you'll find it interesting. Something in her tone made Kyung-ho pause, but before he could analyze it further, Sung-woo announced, Sir, we're receiving approach vectors for the inner system. Follow their lead, Kyung-ho ordered. As the Federation fleet followed the Soul's Pride deeper into human space, none of them realized they were sailing into the most shocking discovery of their careers. The journey through human space continued at a steady pace. Admiral Kyung-ho watched the star charts on his main screen as they traveled deeper into the Sol system. The Soul's Pride maintained its position ahead of his fleet, guiding them along what Captain Dongwook called approved shipping lanes. These humans are very organized, observed Science Officer Woo Jin. Their traffic control system rivals some Federation core worlds, Fleet Commander Tae-min scoffed. Basic organization is expected from any space-traveling species. The Federation has helped many primitive civilizations develop proper space traffic management. But Engineer Hyojin looked troubled as she studied her instruments. Sir, I'm detecting ship movements throughout the system. The patterns are complex. What do you mean? Kyung-ho asked. The ships are moving in coordinated groups, large formations traveling between different areas of the system. It suggests a much bigger infrastructure than we initially thought. Kyung-ho considered this. Perhaps humans had developed faster than typical. Some species did surprise the Federation with rapid progress. Still, their technology appeared basic compared to advanced galactic civilizations. Captain Dongwook's voice came through the communication system. Admiral, we're approaching our second checkpoint. You'll notice increased security activity as we near Earth. Understood, Captain, Kyung-ho replied. Your people certainly take safety seriously. We believe in being prepared, Dongwook said. Recent history has taught us that the universe can be dangerous. Recent history? Kyung-ho wondered what that meant. Had humans encountered hostile aliens before? The Federation databases showed no record of previous contact with this species. Sir, Seung-woo called from his communication station. I'm picking up massive energy signatures ahead. Multiple sources, very powerful. Through the viewing window, Kyung-ho saw structures that made the earlier defensive platforms look small. Huge installations hung in space, connected by thick cables and support beams. Each one pulsed with energy that his sensors could barely measure. "What are those?" Taemin asked, his earlier confidence beginning to fade. "Manufacturing facilities," Captain Dong-wook explained over the comm. "We build most of our equipment in space rather than on planetary surfaces. More efficient that way." Woo Jin checked his readings again. "Admiral, the power output from those facilities is incredible. They're using more energy than some entire Federation worlds." "Wasteful engineering," Taemin muttered, but he didn't sound convinced. Ambassador Jin-ae appeared on the communication screen again. Her smile remained friendly, but Kyung-ho noticed something different in her eyes. A confidence that hadn't been there before. "Admiral, I hope you're enjoying the tour of our system," she said. "Earth is quite proud of what we've built here." "Your people have been busy," Kyung-ho replied carefully. "We don't like to sit idle," Jin-ae agreed. "Captain Dong-wook, please update our guests on the escort arrangements." The captain nodded. "Admiral, our ceremonial fleet will meet us at the edge of Earth's orbital space. They'll provide proper honors for your arrival." "How many ships should we expect?" Kyung-ho asked. "Enough to make an impression," Dong-wook said with a slight smile. "Our fleet commanders are excited to meet fellow military professionals." Fleet commanders? That suggested humans had multiple fleet organizations. Most new species had one small space force. The Federation's intelligence estimates might need updating. "Sir," Hee-jin whispered urgently, "I'm detecting something massive behind that moon." Kyung-ho looked at her sensor display. A structure of enormous size was partially hidden behind one of the system's moons. The energy reading suggested it was some kind of industrial complex, but the scale defied belief. "What is that facility?" he asked Captain Dong-wook. "One of our shipyards," Dong-wook replied casually. "We're always building new vessels. Peace requires preparation, as I'm sure you understand. A shipyard that size could build hundreds of ships simultaneously. The Federation's largest construction facilities weren't much bigger. How had humans developed such capabilities so quickly?" "Captain," Taemin interrupted, "exactly how many ships does Earth possess?" Dong-wook paused for a moment. "Enough to defend our interests and protect our friends. We believe in having adequate resources for any situation." That wasn't really an answer, but pressing for specific numbers would be rude. Still, Kyung-ho was beginning to realize that human capabilities might exceed their initial estimates. As they continued inward, more installations became visible. Communication arrays that dwarfed Federation equipment, defensive platforms with weapon systems that looked far too advanced for a primitive species, supply depots that could support massive fleets. "Sir," Woo Jin reported quietly, "our computers are having trouble cataloging all the installations. There are simply too many to count." "These humans have been very busy indeed," Kyung-ho murmured. Hours passed as they traveled through what humans called their inner security zone. Every new area revealed more construction, more installations, more evidence of capabilities that didn't match initial assessments. "Admiral," Ambassador Jin-ae said during their next communication, "we're approaching Earth's orbital space. Our ceremonial fleet should be taking position now." "We look forward to meeting them," Kyung-ho replied. "I think you'll find our ships impressive," Jin-ae said. Again, that tone that suggested hidden meanings. Fleet Commander Taemin studied the long-range sensors. "I'm not detecting any ships yet. Where is this ceremonial fleet?" "Perhaps they're small vessels," Seung-woo suggested. "Ceremonial ships are usually more decorative than functional," but Woo Jin shook his head. "I'm reading energy signatures moving toward our position." "Big ones. How big?" Kyung-ho asked. "Bigger than anything we've seen so far." The main screen switched to long-range visual. In the distance, shapes were emerging from behind Earth's orbital installations. At first, they looked like small dots against the starfield. But as they grew closer, Kyung-ho realized the dots were actually massive objects. "Those aren't ceremonial vessels," Taemin whispered. "The approaching ships were warships. Real warships. Each one was larger than his flagship, bristling with weapon systems and armor plating. They moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming under the system's star. "Admiral," Captain Dong-wook's voice came through the comm. "Please allow me to introduce Admiral So-young, commander of our 7th Battle Fleet." 7th Battle Fleet? How many battle fleets did humans have? A new voice came through the communication system. Female, confident, with the tone of someone used to command. "Welcome to Earth, Admiral Kyung-ho. I am Admiral So Young. My fleet will provide escort for the remainder of your journey. It's an honor to meet you, Admiral, Kyung-ho managed to say. The honor is ours, So Young replied. We don't often have the chance to meet fellow naval officers from other civilizations. Fellow naval officers? The way she said it suggested equality, not the deference typically shown by primitive species to Federation representatives. As the human warships took formation around his fleet, Kyung-ho felt a growing unease. These weren't the crude vessels of a young civilization. These were sophisticated warships that could match Federation technology. Sir, Hyejin reported in a shaky voice, their power readings are off the charts. Each of those ships has more firepower than our entire fleet. Kyung-ho stared at the human vessels surrounding them, beautiful, deadly, and far more advanced than anything he had expected. What exactly had the Federation discovered in this small system at the edge of the galaxy? Admiral Kyung-ho tried to maintain his composure as the human warships formed up around his fleet. Each vessel was a masterpiece of engineering that challenged everything he thought he knew about human capabilities. The ships moved with precision that spoke of experienced crews and advanced technology. Admiral So Young, he said over the communication channel, your ships are quite impressive. Thank you, So Young replied. Her image appeared on the main screen, showing a woman in her 40s wearing a crisp naval uniform. Her eyes held the confidence of someone who had never lost a battle. These are some of our newer designs. We're always working to improve our defensive capabilities. Newer designs? That meant humans had older warship classes as well. How long had they been building military vessels? Sir, Science Officer Wu Jin whispered urgently, I'm detecting movement throughout the system. Hundreds of ships changing position. Fleet Commander Tae-min studied his tactical display. They're repositioning their entire fleet based on our presence. This level of coordination suggests a unified command structure. Most impressive, Kyung-ho murmured. The Federation had encountered many species, but few showed such military organization during first contact. Captain Dong-wook's voice came through the speakers. Admiral, we're approaching Earth's outer defensive perimeter. Please maintain course and speed. Defensive perimeter? Kyung-ho asked. Standard security measures, Admiral So Young explained. We maintain several defensive zones around Earth. This is just the outermost layer. Several defensive zones? Most species had one or two defensive platforms around their homeworld. The humans seemed to have built multiple layers of protection. As they traveled deeper into human space, massive structures began appearing on the long-range sensors. At first they looked like asteroids or small moons, but as they drew closer the truth became clear. Those aren't natural formations, Engineer Hyejin said in amazement. They're artificial structures built into asteroids. The asteroids had been hollowed out and converted into fortress stations. Weapon emplacements covered their surfaces like metal scales. Each station was larger than a Federation space city, bristling with defensive systems that could destroy entire fleets. How many of these stations do you have? Tae-min asked, his voice barely steady. Enough, Admiral So Young replied simply. Wu Jin's hands trembled as he worked his instruments. Sir, the power readings from those stations, they're impossible. Each one generates more energy than a Federation core world. Impossible how? Kyung-ho demanded. They're using power sources that shouldn't exist. Our physics models can't explain the energy output. Through the viewing window, Kyung-ho could see the fortress stations in detail now. They weren't just defensive platforms. They were engineering marvels that demonstrated technology far beyond what the Federation possessed. Captain Dong-wook, Kyung-ho said carefully, how long did it take your people to build these installations? We've been working on system defense for quite some time, Dong-wook replied. Earth learned early that the universe contains many dangers. What dangers? Kyung-ho asked. There was a pause before Admiral So Young answered. Let's just say we've had experiences that taught us the value of being prepared. Experiences? What had humans encountered that the Federation didn't know about? Sir, Seong-woo called from his communication station. I'm receiving data streams from throughout the system. The amount of information being processed is incredible. They have a real-time tracking system for the entire star system, Hyejin reported. Every ship, every object, everything is being monitored simultaneously. Kyung-ho had seen such systems only in the Federation's most advanced core worlds. The processing power required was enormous. How had humans developed such capabilities? Approaching the middle defensive zone, Captain Dongwook announced. If the outer defenses had been impressive, the middle zone was overwhelming. Massive weapon platforms floated in perfect geometric patterns, their surfaces covered with technology that seemed to bend light around them. Energy fields crackled between the platforms, creating barriers that could stop entire invasion fleets. "Admiral," Wu Jin said in a shaking voice, "some of those weapons, I don't understand how they work. The energy patterns violate known physics." Fleet Commander Taemin stared at his tactical screen. "Each of those platforms has more firepower than our entire fleet, and there are dozens of them." "Actually," Admiral So Young said, apparently hearing their conversation, "there are several hundred platforms in this zone alone." "Several hundred?" Kyung-ho's mind struggled to process the implications. The humans had built enough firepower to destroy the combined fleets of multiple Federation worlds. "Your people have been very thorough," he managed to say. "We believe in redundancy," So Young replied with a slight smile. "If something is worth defending, it's worth defending properly." As they continued inward, the installations grew larger and more complex. Manufacturing centers that could build entire fleets, research stations that pulsed with exotic energy, communication arrays that reached across the galaxy. "Sir," He-Jin whispered, "our computers can't process all the data. There's too much technology to catalog." "These humans aren't primitive," Taemin said quietly. "They're more advanced than us." Kyung-ho nodded grimly. The Federation had made a serious error in judgment. These weren't primitives seeking protection and guidance. These were equals or perhaps superiors who had been politely allowing the Federation to think otherwise. "Admiral So Young," he said, "may I ask about your military structure?" "We have several fleet commands," she replied. "The 7th Battle Fleet is just one of our operational units." "Just one? How many fleets did humans possess?" "Captain Dongwook," Kyung-ho continued, "you mentioned that Earth values peace. Yet your defenses suggest preparation for major conflicts." "We've learned that peace requires strength," Dongwook said. "Those who cannot defend themselves become victims of those who can." There was a hardness in his voice that spoke of painful experience. What had happened to teach humans such lessons? "Approaching the inner defensive zone," Admiral So Young announced. "You'll notice increased activity as we near Earth itself." Increased activity? Kyung-ho could already see more ships and installations than existed in most entire star systems. How much more could there be? The answer came as Earth itself appeared on the long-range sensors. The planet was surrounded by orbital installations that made everything they had seen so far look modest. Shipyards stretched between moons, each one capable of building vessels larger than anything in the Federation fleet. "Welcome to Earth's orbital space," Admiral So Young said. "Our home is well protected." Protected was an understatement. Earth was the center of a military-industrial complex that could dominate the galaxy. The Federation had stumbled upon a sleeping giant. "Sir," Wu Jin reported numbly, "the energy readings from Earth's orbital installations, they're beyond our ability to measure." Kyung-ho stared at the planet ahead. Humanity's homeworld sat at the center of defenses that could stop any conceivable attack. These people weren't seeking Federation membership. They were announcing their arrival as a galactic power. "Admiral," Captain Dongwook said, "our fleet command would like to extend a personal welcome. Fleet Admiral Minho will greet you aboard our flagship." "Your flagship?" Kyung-ho asked weakly. "Oh yes," Admiral So Young said with a smile that was both friendly and terrifying. "Wait until you see the Sejong the Great." The scope of human construction around Earth defied everything Admiral Kyung-ho thought he knew about civilization development. As his fleet approached the inner system, the true magnitude of humanity's achievements became impossible to ignore. "Sir," Navigation Officer Jun Seo called out, his voice filled with disbelief. "I'm trying to catalog the defensive installations, but there are too many. My computer keeps crashing from data overflow." Through the main viewing window, Kyung-ho could see orbital structures that stretched from Earth to its moon. Massive shipyards hung in space like metal cities, each one larger than the biggest Federation space stations. Ships moved between them in endless streams, carrying materials and completed vessels. "How many ships are you building simultaneously?" Fleet Commander Taemin asked Admiral So Young. "Currently, several thousand across all our facilities," she replied casually as if discussing the weather. "Several thousand? The entire Federation built maybe a few hundred ships per year across dozens of worlds." These humans were outproducing the galaxy's largest alliance from a single star system. Admiral, Science Officer Wu Jin reported in a shaking voice. The asteroid belt has been completely converted. Every rock has been turned into either a mining operation, manufacturing center, or defensive platform. Kyung-ho studied the sensor readings. The asteroid belt that once orbited peacefully between planets had become a fortified industrial zone. Millions of installations worked constantly, processing raw materials and building equipment on a scale he had never imagined possible. "Your people have been busy," he said to Captain Dong-wook. "Idle hands are dangerous," Dong-wook replied. "We prefer to stay productive." Engineer Hyejin looked up from her station with wide eyes. "Admiral, I'm detecting shipyards between the outer planets too. They're building vessels that are enormous." "How enormous?" Kyung-ho asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. "Larger than our capital ships. Much larger." Admiral So-young's voice came through the speakers. "Those are our heavy construction yards. We build the big ships out there where we have room to work." "Big ships?" Kyung-ho's flagship was already one of the largest vessels in the Federation fleet. What could humans possibly need with bigger ships? "Sir," Communications Officer Sung-woo interrupted. "I'm receiving thousands of communication signals throughout the system. The traffic volume is incredible." "Military communications?" Taemin asked. "Everything. Military, civilian, industrial, scientific. This system has more communication traffic than the Federation's core worlds." As they drew closer to Earth, the planet's defensive grid became visible in detail. Orbital platforms formed geometric patterns around the world, each one bristling with weapons that seemed to violate the laws of physics. Energy fields connected the platforms, creating barriers that could stop anything short of a star-going nova. "Captain Dong-wook," Kyung-ho said carefully. "Exactly how long has Earth been spacefaring?" "Long enough to develop adequate defenses," Dong-wook replied with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. That wasn't an answer. But Kyung-ho was beginning to understand that humans didn't give direct answers about their capabilities. Every response was carefully measured to reveal just enough information to make a point. "Sir," Wu Jin called urgently, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures approaching from Earth's shadow." "The ceremonial escort?" Kyung-ho asked hopefully. "No, sir," Admiral So-young's voice came through the speakers. "That would be the Third Fleet taking position. Fleet Admiral Minho likes to make a proper entrance." More ships appeared on the sensors. These weren't the impressive warships they had seen earlier. These were floating cities of metal and energy, each one dwarfing everything the Federation had ever built. The vessels moved with grace despite their enormous size, their hulls gleaming with technology that seemed almost alive. "Those aren't ships," Taemin whispered. "They're mobile space stations." "Heavy cruisers, actually," Admiral So-young corrected. "Our ships of the line are a bit larger." "Ships of the line? These monsters were just cruisers?" "Admiral," Jun Seo reported. "Our tactical computers are having trouble processing the weapon systems on those vessels. The technology doesn't match anything in our databases." "Some of it is rather new," Captain Dong-wook admitted. "Our research divisions have been quite productive lately." "Research divisions? Multiple divisions? How many people were working on weapons development?" As the human fleet took formation around them, Kyung-ho realized that his 12 ships were completely surrounded by vessels that could destroy them without effort. But the humans maintained their polite diplomatic manner, treating the Federation fleet as honored guests rather than potential threats. "Sir," Hyejin whispered, "the power cores on those ships are impossible. They're generating more energy than small stars." "Fusion technology?" Kyung-ho asked weakly. "No, sir. Something far more advanced. I don't recognize the energy patterns at all." Through the communication channel, Admiral So-young spoke again. "Admiral Kyung-ho, Fleet Admiral Minho extends his personal invitation to visit our flagship. He's eager to meet the Federation's representatives." "We would be honored," Kyung-ho replied, though honor wasn't exactly what he was feeling. "Excellent. The Sejong the Great will rendezvous with us shortly." "The Sejong the Great?" "Our flagship. You'll find her quite impressive." If these massive cruisers were impressive, what could their flagship possibly be like? "Sir," Sung-woo called out, "I'm detecting something emerging from Earth's orbital construction yards. It's massive doesn't begin to describe it." On the main screen, a shape began moving away from Earth's largest shipyard. At first, it looked like one of the orbital stations was changing position, but as it cleared the construction framework, the truth became clear. It was a ship, the largest ship any of them had ever seen. "That can't be a starship," Taemin said numbly. "It's too big." The vessel stretched across space like a mobile continent. Its hull incorporated technologies that seemed to bend reality around them. Weapon systems that looked like they could crack planets dotted its surface. The ship's drives created ripples in space-time itself as it moved. "Admiral," Wu Jin reported in a voice barely above a whisper. "That ship is over 20 kilometers long. Its power output is impossible to measure. 20 kilometers? The Federation's largest dreadnoughts were barely 2 kilometers in length. This human vessel was 10 times bigger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Welcome to the Hun Sejong the Great," Admiral So Young announced. "Fleet Admiral Minho is looking forward to your visit." As the super battleship approached, its massive bulk blocked out stars. The ship's presence seemed to warp space around it, creating visual distortions that hurt to look at directly. "Sir," Heejin called out urgently, "our engines just shut down automatically." "What? Why?" "The flagship's drive systems are interfering with our power grid. Our computers detected dangerous resonance patterns and initiated emergency shutdown." Kyung-ho stared at the approaching giant. The ship was so powerful that its mere presence disabled other vessels. This wasn't just advanced technology. This was something beyond current understanding of physics. "Don't worry," Captain Dong-wook said cheerfully. "The Sejong systems can be a bit overwhelming for ships that aren't properly shielded. We'll provide auxiliary power while you're here." Auxiliary power? The humans were offering to power his ships like they were primitive vessels in need of assistance. "Admiral," Taemin whispered, "we need to contact Federation Command immediately." Kyung-ho nodded grimly. The Federation had made contact with humanity expecting to find another junior species, seeking guidance and protection. Instead, they had discovered a civilization that could dominate the entire galaxy. The question now was, what did the humans plan to do with all that power? The Hun's Sejong the Great continued its approach, and Admiral Kyung-ho felt his confidence crumble with each passing moment. The massive vessel moved with impossible grace for something so large, its exotic drive systems creating ripples in space that made his instruments scream warnings. "Sir?" Engineer Hyojin reported, her voice tight with stress. "Our backup power systems are also failing. The energy fields from that ship are overloading our circuits." "Not to worry," Captain Dong-wook's cheerful voice came through the speakers. "We're extending a power transfer beam to keep your systems running. Can't have our guests floating dead in space." A beam of pure energy reached out from one of the human escort ships and connected with Kyung-ho's flagship. Immediately, his ship's system stabilized, but the humiliation was complete. The Federation's most advanced warship was now dependent on human charity, just to maintain life support. "Thank you for your assistance," Kyung-ho managed to say. "Our pleasure," Admiral So Young replied. "We understand that different species use different technologies. Our ships are designed to work together, so they're heavily shielded against energy interference." Fleet Commander Taemin studied his tactical displays with growing horror. "Admiral, their escort ships are more powerful than our entire fleet, and they're treating them like minor support vessels." Through the main viewing window, the Sejong the Great filled their entire field of view. The super battleship's hull was covered in weapon systems that defied identification. Some looked like traditional energy cannons scaled up to impossible sizes. Others resembled nothing in any Federation database. "Sir," Science Officer Wu Jin called out, "I'm detecting weapons on that ship that appear to manipulate gravity itself. And there are systems I can't even begin to categorize." "Gravity weapons?" Kyung-ho asked weakly. "The energy patterns suggest they can create artificial black holes. Small ones, but still. Artificial black holes as weapons. The Federation's most advanced research had barely begun to understand such concepts, let alone weaponize them." "Admiral Kyung-ho," a new voice came through the communication system, deep, confident, with the authority of someone who had commanded fleets across the galaxy. "I am Fleet Admiral Minho. Welcome to Earth." The main screen showed a man in his 50s wearing an elaborate uniform covered in decorations. His eyes held the wisdom of someone who had seen many battles and won them all. "Fleet Admiral," Kyung-ho replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "It's an honor to meet you." "The honor is mine," Minho said with a slight bow. It's not often we receive visitors from the galactic community. We're eager to learn about our new neighbors. New neighbors? The way he said it suggested humans saw themselves as equals moving into an established neighborhood, not primitives seeking acceptance. Your ship is impressive, Kyung-ho said, looking at the massive vessel surrounding them. The Sejong is our newest design, Min-ho replied with obvious pride. She incorporates everything we've learned about space warfare over the years. How many ships like this do you have? Fleet Commander Taemin asked before he could stop himself. Min-ho smiled. Enough to keep Earth safe and protect our interests throughout the galaxy. Throughout the galaxy? That suggested humans had interests far beyond their home system. Sir, Navigation Officer Jun Seo whispered urgently. I'm detecting more massive signatures approaching. Multiple contacts, all ship-sized. Admiral So Young's voice came through the speakers. The First Fleet is joining us for the ceremonies. Fleet Admiral Min-ho wanted to ensure you received a proper welcome. More ships like the Sejong the Great appeared on the sensors. Each one was a floating fortress capable of destroying entire star systems. They moved in perfect formation, their combined presence warping space around them. How many fleets do you have? Kyung-ho asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted the answer. Currently operational, 12 numbered fleets plus several specialized task forces, Min-ho replied casually. We believe in maintaining adequate defensive capabilities. 12 fleets? Each one apparently built around super battleships that dwarfed anything the Federation possessed? The implications were staggering. Sir, Communications Officer Seung-woo reported, I'm receiving data streams that suggest massive fleet movements throughout the galaxy. These ships aren't just defending Earth. Our merchant marine and exploration fleets do travel widely, Captain Dong-wook confirmed. Trade and knowledge gathering are important to Earth's interests. Merchant marine? Exploration fleets? The humans had been traveling the galaxy while pretending to be an unknown species. They had been watching and learning about the Federation for years, maybe decades. Admiral, Engineer Hee-jin called out softly. The power cores on these ships, they're not using any technology I recognize. The energy output suggests matter-antimatter reactions, but far more efficient than our models predict. Antimatter? Kyung-ho asked. Something beyond antimatter. The energy density is impossible according to our physics. Fleet Admiral Min-ho's image appeared on the screen again. Admiral Kyung-ho, would you and your senior staff care to tour the Sejong? I think you'd find our facilities interesting. It wasn't really a request. The Federation fleet was surrounded by ships that could vaporize them without effort, but Min-ho's tone remained polite and friendly. We would be honored, Kyung-ho replied. Excellent. Transport Bay 7 will receive your shuttle. Fair warning. Our internal gravity systems might feel a bit different from what you're used to. As they prepared to board their shuttle, Kyung-ho gathered his senior officers. Remember, we're diplomats representing the Federation. Whatever we see over there, maintain professional composure. Sir, Taemin said quietly, what if they're hostile? We're completely outgunned. If they were hostile, we'd already be dead, Kyung-ho replied grimly. They're making a point about their capabilities while maintaining diplomatic courtesy. The question is, what point are they trying to make? The shuttle launched from his flagship and approached the Sejong the Great. Up close, the super battleship's hull revealed details that made Federation engineers weep. Armor plating that seemed to absorb light. Weapon systems that crackled with barely contained energy. Sensor arrays that could probably track a single molecule across a star. System Transport Bay 7, the shuttle. Pilot announced as they approached, an opening in the ship's hull that was larger than most Federation space stations. Inside the transport bay, hundreds of smaller vessels were parked in neat rows. Fighters, shuttles, and ships that looked like they could serve as cruisers in any Federation fleet. This single bay contained more military hardware than most worlds possessed. Welcome aboard the Sejong the Great, a human officer said as they disembarked. Fleet Admiral Min-ho is waiting in the command center. The walk through the ship's corridors was a journey through technology that shouldn't exist. The walls themselves seemed alive with energy. Display screens showed star charts that covered the entire galaxy. Crew members moved with the precision of people who knew their ship could reshape the balance of galactic power. Sir, Wu Jin whispered as they walked. The internal structure of this ship, it's bigger inside than it should be. What do you mean? They've somehow manipulated internal space. The corridors are longer than the ship's external dimensions should allow. Space manipulation technology? The humans had mastered physics that the Federation's greatest scientists couldn't even theorize about. As they approached the command center, Kyung-ho realized that everything the Federation thought it knew about galactic civilization was about to change. Humanity hadn't just entered the galactic community. They had arrived to reshape it.